Hey golfers, Bill Schmedes here. This course is all about allowing you to understand what type of way you need to swing for your body and your game. A lot of different swings out there, a lot of different systems. There's only one good way for you to swing the golf club, and it should be based on things you can physically do. So we're going to talk about in this course where you need to be, how to understand where you need to be, and how to then move forward with specific drills to allow you to take your golf game to the next level. So if we watch golf on TV enough, we'll see a lot of different looking swings. The majority of those swings suit those players really well. In this course, we're going to talk about how your arms need to swing and how your body needs to pivot. Two really important things. Now, certainly, if, let's say, the club face is a little out of whack, that can have an influence on some reactions. But if you have a basic understanding on how your arms need to swing and how your body should pivot, you're going to be able to take your golf game to the next level. So here's what you're going to need in this golf course. You are going to need a golf club, an alignment stick, and a tape measure, believe it or not. And we're going to start to run through a number of tests and/or screenings to see where you need to be, not necessarily where your buddy needs to be or what Rory McIlroy needs to be doing. It will be specifically for you based on how you test out. And if you can stay within these guidelines, you can take your golf game to the next level. So stay tuned. We're going to start off discussing the arm swing and the three different potential ways that your arms can swing around your body. Before we do that, it's extremely important for us to understand pretty much what our wingspan is relative to our height. That is going to have a really big influence on how upright or around our arms might want to swing. So this is where you're going to need the tape measure. You might need to get some help here, but really you're going to stand nice and tall. You're going to stretch your arms out just like this. Palms out. You're going to measure from the index finger to the index finger, and you're going to get your wingspan. You're then going to have to use this tape measure and have someone go behind you and figure out where we currently are at with our height. And if your height is longer than your wingspan, you're going to move a certain type of way. If your height matches your wingspan, you're going to move a certain type of way when it comes to your arm swing. And if your arms are longer than your height, definitely going to swing a certain type of way. So what does all that mean? Let's dive in. If your arms are longer than your height, it means that in your golf swing, you should naturally have arms more like Justin Thomas that are higher at the top and almost reaching for the stars this way. So it depends based on how much longer your wingspan is from your height, but there's always going to be lead arm above the shoulder plane when your wingspan is longer than your height. And if you're trying to do something different, meaning have your arms work more around you, it's probably not going to work out very well for you. Now, if your wingspan matches your height perfectly, which believe it or not, a lot of folks kind of scan out and pan out that way, then your lead arm and your arms are going to swing a little more around, and your lead arm at the top of your backswing is almost just going to kind of run parallel to the angle of your shoulders right here. So lead arm matches the shoulders at the top. If your wingspan is shorter than your height, you would most certainly have your arm swing even more around than the previous way, and your lead arm at the top would be a little underneath the shoulder plane this way. So if we understand pretty much the longer your arms are, the more they want to swing up relative to height, and the shorter your arms are, the more they want to swing around That's extremely helpful to get your arms synced up with your body to allow for much better compression and better golf. So that's a great way to check in pretty much where you're going to be. We'll talk about drills and exercises shortly to help you with one of those ranges, depending on which one of the three that you would fall into. We should now have a very good understanding on how our arms should be swinging around us in the golf swing. We're now going to tie in how the body is effectively going to support that. So little easy test, primarily in the backswing, to kind of show us where or how you should be moving. You're gonna need an alignment stick. You can take a golf club as well, but I always like to use an alignment stick where you're gonna get into your normal golf posture and do your best to please get into your normal bends. Sometimes when you're not holding a golf club, I know it can be a little challenging, but try and get into your normal bends. And as you're getting into your normal bends, you're gonna take this alignment stick and you're just gonna place it on your thighs, just kind of like I am right now. So my target would kind of be in that direction. And from here, I just want you to try and turn your hips however they would want to move. Doesn't have to be a big turn. You could just kind of go belt buckle just past your right toe. So check this out. So that's how my hips naturally turn. Why is that important? There's a number of ways, we'll call it 3 ways for today's purpose, on how your body, kind of from the ground up, can move. And then if you are doing that correctly, that will have an influence on how you then move late through the hitting area. And if you can match these things up with your arm swing, you can be really good at golf. So if you watch my right hip right here as I'm doing this test, because this is what you all have to do when you're doing this screening. You either pretty much need to record yourself or look at yourself in a mirror or a phone, obviously on mirror mode. But you would get into golf posture. You would look at kind of the edge of your trail or right hip here and just see as you're pretty much moving back and through, is this drifting a little as you turn? Is it almost turning in place? Or is it going towards the target? So those are 3 different ways that you can move in the backswing, pretty much with the pelvis, that then has an influence on the trunk, and then there's a action to every reaction coming down and through. So do that test for me, and after you do that test, we're gonna talk about how we can then do certain drills and some expectations as we're doing those drills to show you, if you move this way, this is how you should probably move through impact. And if you move this way, this is how you will move through impact. Remember, everyone's different. So if we can get these arms to match how we need to move, and then we get the body to support that, we can play some really good golf. I hope everyone now has a great understanding on where they need to be based on how they naturally should move, based on that last video. Now we're going to dive in the kind of connections in regards to if we move a certain way going back, how we then need to move coming down and through, meaning the downswing. So if you are one where when we put this golf club on our thighs, this right hip as you watch it tends to drift this way a little more off the golf ball, meaning a little more shift, you're then naturally going to have a little bit more shift back in your downswing as we're pretty much bringing that golf club back into the ball. Makes sense, right? If you're one where this right hip here, as you watch it, almost just kind of goes up on the same line from where it started, you would then be more centralized with your movement here, and then you would be more centralized with your movement that way in the downswing. So there wouldn't be a lot of shifting. Now if you pan out this way, whereas if we watch this right hip, we actually go a little towards the target, you are then going to react to that and be more of a jumper and have more verticals in your downswing and through the hitting area. None of those are bad. They just have to suit you. So if you can tie in your arm swing with how you pivot, we can start to play some really good golf. I'm going to give you a couple simple exercises for each one of these pivots to help you match the exercises I gave you regarding the arm swing. So let's say you're the gentleman or gal that potentially has a little too much of this, right? Don't ever have someone tell you it's a bad thing. We just know that if we move a little that way, we then have to have a little bit more of a shift. So great exercise to help us naturally do this and be athletic. You would take your normal golf setup, then narrow your stance up so it's about inside of shoulder's width. You're gonna step with your right foot. The second the right foot hits the ground, you're gonna swing the golf club back. Now, once I'm swinging that golf club back and it gets back to about, we'll call it shaft parallel, I want you to then take your left foot and I want you to step the opposite way. So it's like a bad dance move. So again, normal setup, narrow it up, step the second you plant that right foot, swing the club back. Once the club gets back to about shaft parallel, step the left foot forward, and you'll have a little bit more of this pushing in, shifting to push back in the opposite way. If you are an individual like myself, when we do this test, where that right hip kind of just stays in place and we kind of just turn up and around it, you're going to be more this way in a golf swing, so less shift. So I like this exercise quite a bit. I call it the pirate drill. I take my lead foot or left foot, I drop my right foot back here where I'm almost just on the tippy toes, and I'm only using my lead leg. Ball position when I do that drill, if I'm going to hit some shots, is going to be right off pretty much my instep, maybe a golf ball off the inside of my lead foot right up in there. And then from there, we're just going to feel like we can kind of swivel around it and swivel around it. And we don't need to obviously make big swings. It's about lead arm parallel to about shaft parallel. So a little bit more pirate in your life if we tend to move that way on both sides. If you're the individual that tends to start moving a little more that way, again, not a bad thing. There's plenty of golfers on tour that do that. We just need to know that if we're moving that way in the downswing, you're not going to shift anymore. You are going to go up and back. So in order to help you folks, what I like to do is I'll go the opposite way. I'll take my right foot, and if I'm hitting golf balls, I'll have a ball position like just off the inside of my right foot. I drop my left foot back now. I'm doing this, and I'm pretty much, instead of having this as far back as I did with the last exercise, I'll actually have it a little further out like so. And I've just kind of got my ball of the foot in the ground here. I'm going to go to lead arm parallel. And then at lead arm parallel, I'm going to have you feel like you almost spin, corkscrew that lead foot as you hit a golf ball. Ready? So you're feeling like you're got some fancy footwork there. It should feel a little strange at first, but it's just a great way for you to be here and then to be able to kind of push in the ground to then go that way, because that's how you're going to move the best based on how you pretty much naturally pivot. So we hope this makes sense for you. Remember, let's get those arm swings tied in with the body. If we can do that, you can play much better golf. All right, so hopefully you've taken your measurements, you've seen where you're at from a wingspan to height perspective. You have a better understanding now based on where you pretty much pan out on how your arms should be swinging, whether more upright or more round in your golf swing. Now let's talk about just very simple exercises that you can do for each one of those arm swings to allow you to just get better feedback. I've got a towel. I also have 2 tees here. I'll start off with the towel, and we'll start off if you fall into having a wingspan that is longer than your height, meaning your arms are going to be higher, again, more like that Justin Thomas analogy that I mentioned. So I'm sure a lot of you have seen the towel exercise here, but if I were to just take this towel, place it underneath both my armpits like this, we would want to make some dry swings first, meaning we don't have to hit any golf balls, we're just kind of making air swings. And then you can certainly do this on the golf ball. But the goal is at about halfway back in your backswing, so that's pretty much right after you get past lead arm parallel there, we want to drop the towel. So if we do this correctly, see how the towel drops pretty quickly after lead arm parallel, and you can see how my lead arm is a lot higher than my shoulder plane. Great way to get some feedback. You can also use 2 tees and put them underneath your armpits as well, but I like the towel. It gives you really good feedback. I honestly think it's a little bit of a better way to go versus the tees. Now, if your wingspan matches your height, meaning that lead arm should swing and kind of match the shoulder plane at the top, I like taking these 2 tees for this particular one, putting them underneath both your armpits here, and trying to make a swing back and through. Now, if you can do that and put that lead arm right on your shoulders, like I'm showing you right here, fantastic. If you have a hard time doing that, take the tee out of the right armpit for the right-handed golfer, leave it in your left or your lead, and just try and keep that tee underneath that left armpit as we go back there and try and get, again, pretty much that tee to stay in there as we're trying to get that lead arm to match the shoulder plane. So when the tees stay in or the lead tee stays in, you're doing the correct movement for where you need to be if your wingspan matches your overall height. Finally, if your wingspan is shorter than your height and you're going to swing typically the most around, you can do both tees. I like just using one. We swap it from the left armpit to the right armpit. So for golfers that need to be more around, this is important in regards to how this right elbow is kind of folding and its relationship with kind of the rib cage. So I really like just moving that tee over for those that have a little bit of a shorter wingspan relative to height. Get in your setup there, try and keep that tee in that armpit, and you're gonna start to definitely be more around and a little underneath the shoulder plane. So again, shorter than the wingspan here, matching the wingspan there, longer wingspan here. If we can do that, that will allow you to naturally swing your swing to provide for better results. Next up, we're going to show you how you can match that with how then the body needs to be pivoting. Stay tuned.